Hello and welcome to the Par 3, presented to you by thelines.com. Matt Brown, Stephen Andress, coming to you PGA Championship edition. Stephen, a very quick look back to look forward. One of the things we had talked about with Rory McIlroy was his inability to win, it seemed like. He won the team event. We didn't really care about that near as much, but last week was pretty convincing. We've seen signs of Rory heading in the right direction as it was anyway, and I think the other narrative here is going to be like, well, see, Xander can't get it done. Look at this guy. He's such a loser. Xander just got beat. I mean, sometimes in golf, you're just going to get beat. And anybody outside of anyone on this planet outside of someone named Scotty Scheffler, Rory was just going to beat him on Sunday. Rory just had it. And, a guy like Rory McIlroy, when he just has it, it is what it is. You're going to lose, and he goes 6 under. And, Scotty Scheffler's the only guy on the planet that probably could have hung with him there at the 6 under. So, and of course, kind of 7 under. He was 18. He knew he could quad it and still win. So he just kind of like coasted in and bogeyed 18. So not that big of a deal. So, for me, kind of moving forward, I understand the odds attached to Rory McIlroy this week. And for Xander, I think we should maybe not be so harsh on him because pretty much anybody outside of Scotty loses last week.
Yes, but spinning it forward to the PGA Championship, if Rory's going to be 8-1 and Xander's going to be 14-1, I'll pass and look for some other guys. Even Rory said after the win that it's great, but Scotty wasn't here. Yeah. And also it came at the course that he has the most course history of at Quail Hollow than any other in his entire career. So not really running to the front of the line to bet these guys in a major championship now. Even if it does fit Rory nicely with Valhalla being 7,600 yards, Matt. I got a chance to go out there yesterday. It's in my hometown here in Louisville, Kentucky. Check it out. Really, my biggest takeaway was I thought the first cut of rough.
Let me stop you there. Humble brag, too. Yeah, I was just out there yesterday. Just stumbled out there
yesterday. I'm volunteering my time.
So if anybody sees you over the next few days, come up and say hi then. Yeah, I mean, come up, say hi. You'll high five them and everything.
Exactly. There you go.
Good.
There you go. And if you got a bum knee and need a ride, that's me on the accessibility shuttles.
I love it. There you go. See, there it is. Ask for Stephen Andress to be your driver. There you go. I love it.
Tips greatly appreciated. But I mean, my biggest takeaway was I felt like the rough wasn't that penal. And I was surprised by that, given it's a major championship. Like there's some U.S. Opens you hit it in the rough and it's basically a 1-stroke penalty. I didn't get that at Valhalla walking around. Now, maybe it grows in as the week goes on here. I went out there on Monday. I'll be out there again on Wednesday. But yeah, I think if the other thing too is a lot of moisture this spring for us here, Matt. And the idea of these new Zoysia fairways is that the shorter hitters would get more rollout. But if it's wet, you're not going to get as much rollout. So it's not really hot and really dry where you're going to get firm and fast as you normally would, I don't think. So that, to me, only increases the advantage potentially of the Bombers this week.
7,609 yards, par 71. It is the longest par 71 on tour. Bent grass greens should be firm and fast. They're pretty small in size, actually third smallest on tour. They're calling it 4-inch rough, Steven. So I don't know. I mean, they're calling it 4-inch rough, and they're calling.
I'm just telling you, man. I walked around a bunch of first cuts, and I dropped the ball, and it was sitting on top of it. That's the other thing with all the rain. It's dense. It is certainly dense, but it's also creating a nice little bed for it to sit on top of it. Now, if you get outside the ropes to the second cut and you're really wayward, it's thick and juicy. So, but if you're missing inside the ropes, I think they're going to be fine.
62 bunkers, water in play on 7 holes. It looks like as of right now, and again, weather changes rapidly as we know, but kind of low 80s and maybe some late PM showers on Friday, but actual play days of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday look okay. There might be some showers. You might be getting some right now, Stephen. I know Tuesday and Wednesday.
We are getting rain today on Tuesday.
Yeah. It looked like Tuesday and Wednesday there was a little bit in the forecast, but actually for the playing days doesn't look quite as bad over there. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Zoysia there in the fairway. So what it is, guys, is that grass just requires less water and less chemicals in order to keep it nice and healthy and green and stuff. And so that's why you're actually seeing this happen on a bunch of courses. They've done it to a couple of courses out here in Vegas now, actually, with replacing the stuff with Zoysia. The one thing it does do, though, and you talk about kind of I know the rough is one thing, but certainly from a fairway standpoint, the way that the grass is, it's kind of firm. Like the ball is almost kind of like sitting up on a tee. Like it's
it's fantastic for like you and me, because you're right. It's not. I have a hard time like hitting linksy style fairways with how tight the lies are. You're right. It's kind of soft out there with teeing it up in the fairway.
So I imagine what we're going to see, because like, again, it's almost like sitting up on a tee. I think these guys are going to be able to, as long as they can keep it in the fairway, I think these guys are going to be able to clip the ball really, really well off of that grass. And I think we're going to see some hero shots, like, again, from dudes that are in the fairways anyway. If you're outside of that, that's a different story. But I certainly think we're going to see some hero shots, because for those guys, look, if it's easier for me to hit off of and I'm a hack, think what it's like for those guys to hit off of who are actual world-class players, right? I mean, it's going to be, I imagine we see some pretty special stuff with the iron play this week.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head in agreement about your point about the pros, not nodding my head that you're a hack golfer.
No, but I am in fact a hack golfer. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Hey, self-admitted. I am okay with that. Guys, as always, everything we do absolutely free. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and you're going to want to do that anyway, but that's a tease towards the end of the video here. And if you want the full breakdown of the course and all the things that go into what makes Valhalla special, go in. John's article's up on the sites at thelines.com, so be sure and take a look at that there. I will just give one word of caution. We talked about, yes, there have been major tournaments played here. We even have an amateur that's been played here. There's a seniors. So like there is course history to kind of go back and look on. But as we just mentioned, they've redone the whole fairways. I mean, the course is different from when all of those tournaments were played. One of the other things that they said, Stephen, that the general manager of the course said, I'm curious if you noticed as well. Well, you probably didn't see it in 2014, so you wouldn't know the difference. But I guess there used to be a small kind of like rim of rough around the bunkers. And like I said, there's 62 bunkers out there that some wayward shots you would get away with because that layer of rough would catch the ball before it went into these bunkers. Apparently, to make this course more difficult and to keep up with the times of all these people, and to make the course at least a little bit more cerebral for these dudes, whether they might have to club down and not actually go with it from driver, is they removed that layer of rough. And so now it's just a straight runoff into these bunkers as opposed to there being at least one layer of protection, which might actually come into play on some of these holes, that they're at least hoping it will on some of these holes where guys are going to have to make a decision to risk it with driver or be a little bit more conservative with less than driver. So there might be some holes where we actually find some real, golf being played as well.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if that develops. The greens complexes, my biggest takeaway was 5 of the 18 holes do have water alongside the greens, and not like a decent amount of rough and then the water, like literally water up along an edge of a green. Mm-hmm. So approach play is at a premium this week, especially on those holes. And then a lot of other greens that are perched up with some runoff areas, false fronts. If you try to hit a tucked pin, it's going to go way down to a runoff area. So those are kind of the biggest observations I had. And I did see a little bit of that with the bunkers around the greens too, even though you were talking about the fairway bunkers.
The last thing we'll get to, and then we'll get to our plays here. That general manager's name's Keith Reese, and what he did say, just kind of like adding to this though, I think is what you've said from just being out there. He said, if you hit good shots, you can get rewarded on this course. And he continues with, but if you hit bad shots, it can punish you in a hurry, and it can punish you on each and every hole. So that's kind of what he's saying. He's like, listen, you hit good shots, you might can score here. You hit bad shots, you might could be looking at bogey or worse. And so that's kind of what we're going at as we head into the PGA here over at Valhalla. All right, you're on the box, my friend. Kick things off here with our par 3.
The defending champion, Brooks Koepka, whose odds as we record here on Tuesday afternoon have shortened up a little bit to 15-1, maybe even a touch or two shorter. 3-time PGA champion, coming off a win on the LIV Tour. Scottie Scheffler's amazing, but his odds are prohibitive for my process of betting golf at this point, so I have to try and beat him. Listen, if you're just a casual golf bettor and you want to bet 4-1 on Scottie just to have fun because you don't bet golf every week, I'm not going to criticize you for that. For me, I'm trying to go for long-term here, 3 units every week to try and win 24 or more. This week I'll do 3.5 to try and win 30 because I love the majors. And I've seen enough PGA Tour guys fail at beating Scotty Scheffler when he's got his A game or even his B plus game. I've seen enough of that this year. So if I'm going to try and beat Scotty this week in a major, I'm going to try it with a bit of unknown, but with guys that we at least know have had success in major championships. Brooks Koepka, obviously, the results speak for themselves, but if we dig a little bit deeper, among guys who rank top 25 in driving distance and strokes gained on approach over the last 24 rounds played in major championships, Koepka is one of only 6 players to fit both of those. He also is a guy who has said that he was pissed off after his Masters performance, and it got him dialed back in, and we saw it already with a win on Live a couple of weeks ago. So I think you could do worse than betting Koepka in a PGA Championship, Matt.
Yeah, he's just an anomaly, right? I mean, that's the problem, because he's not going to pop in any of your models. He's not going to. He is like the exception to the rule. Like, typically you want dudes coming in like really, really good form. And not saying that he's in bad form by any stretch of the imagination, but like, listen, we get limited, we get limited sample size when it comes to the Live dudes. And right, yeah, he is coming off a win, but there's a couple of, Masters T45, the Live before the Masters T45, the one before that 28th. Remember, there's only 54 players, 54 players, 56 players, or whatever it is in these tournaments. And so like, that's the thing for me. I will say about that one that he won over in Singapore, he did gain across the board, which we have not seen from Koepka in a long time. His game has been erratic, to say the least. And so he just, it's kind of like we said some of these times, like sometimes you got to take a leap of faith, and he's just kind of your leap of faith play, because he just shows up in major. He just shows up in these big tournaments, right? And it's like, what can I do to argue against playing Koepka this week, other than the fact that maybe these odds are like a little bit too short, maybe for me, in my opinion. My first is a Live guy, and it's going to be Jon Rahm. Mainly because these odds I got it 20-1 yesterday. I know it's 18-1 now. He's starting to get some love out there in the betting market. But Steven, the fact of the matter is if Jon Rahm had not left for Live, his odds would be very close to what Rory McIlroy's odds are right now. He wouldn't be as short as 750, but he'd probably be 9-1, and like, we're getting double that on Jon Rahm, who is just a year removed from being, one of the best and most consistent players on the PGA Tour. 7 Live starts. He's not finished below a T10. He's gained off the tee, tee to green, and ball striking in his last 12 tournaments. And that goes obviously back, that predates even his Live experience. So his last 12 tournaments, he's gained off the tee, tee to green, and ball striking. Yeah, disappointing Masters finish for him. But look, the weather was horrible on Friday. It depends on what draw you had at the Masters. So I'm kind of like almost just, more than anything, I'm just propping up what Scotty was able to do and not really holding it against what other people were able to do. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that the Masters went down. So that's kind of where I am with that. But even in that Masters finish, Steven, he gained off the tee, he gained approach, he gained ball striking, and he gained tee to green. His short game was just atrocious, where he lost multiple strokes, short game, putting, all the different stuff like that around the green. So, it was just, that's where his real fault was and all that, but he still gained in 4 of the major categories with all that. I think the price is just too long on Rahm. If Rahm was sitting where Xander is, Rahm's not a play for me. If Rahm is 14, it's a no-go. If Rahm is where Rory's at, it's sure as hell not a no-go. It's a no-go for me. But him drifting all the way out to 20 and even to 18, something like that, I think that's a little disrespectful for a dude that has been so incredibly consistent as recently as a year ago.
So full transparency, Jon Rahm is currently on my outright card right now as well. I agree with you that the number for him in a major should not start with a 2. Makes a lot of sense to me. I also need to give a little bit of context here because, I have Koepka on the card. Right now his price is 14-1. That makes it a really hard card if you're also going to have Jon Rahm. So for me, if I was coming in cold this week and only had the odds available to me, my card would probably just be one of Koepka and Rahm and then Bryson. And if I want to have a smaller payout, maybe I have all 3 of them on there. I am fortunate that I bet Koepka and a book let me parlay him after his first round lead at Live with PGA odds, and I'm sitting on 119-1 Koepka ticket. So I have a lot more flexibility that most of the people coming in this week don't have, but I certainly saw all the things you did with Jon Rahm. That is for sure. And the last thing I'll mention too, the last 6 majors that were at least 7,500 yards, Matt, Scotty won 2 of them. Jon Rahm won 2 of them. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is a good fit for him. One of them was Torrey Pines, which a lot of people have said is a comp course for Valhalla this week. So I think he is absolutely in the mix here. And I'm not too worried about his live results, to be honest with you. The second guy for me is if we're talking about a very long course that helps guys off the tee with driving distance, then I don't know how you don't include or consider Bryson DeChambeau this week. Again, it's a live guy. It's a bit of a leap of faith, but for him to come out and look as good as he did for as long as he did at Augusta National was eye-opening to me, a place that he's always failed at miserably. It seems he is adding a little bit of nuance to his off-the-tee strategy in the last year or so, where there are some times where he doesn't have to just go full throttle, pedal to the metal with his driver, which I like. It should increase his accuracy a little bit. And just looking at the overall rankings for me this week and the stats I cared about most over the last 24 rounds in majors, the rankings spit out Rory, Scotty, DeChambeau, number 3. And it makes sense for a course this long because, we obviously know he's one of the longest drivers of the ball, but also he fits in terms of par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. Because this course, 1/3 of the holes fall into that category. And there's only 6 guys who are top 25 in driving and also in par 4 scoring and those yardages over the last 24 rounds in majors. The only 2 guys from Liv are Koepka and DeChambeau. The only guys from the PGA Tour over the last 24 rounds in majors, Rory, Scotty, and then a couple of sleepers, Taylor Pendrith and Min Woo Lee. So I think DeChambeau right now, I think there's still a 30 out there if you look hard enough. I think it's a solid bet this week with Bryson.
Yeah, it's like it's just the deal of the unknown, right? Like you said, you get the T6 at the Masters, followed up by a T26 and a T27 at his last 2 live events, and so it's like one of those like,
yeah, it's like, what do you think of that, right?
What do you know? It's kind of like did it something lose? Did he lose something? I don't know. It's like but again, if we're talking about just course fit in general for what we think that matters, obviously Bryson is going to be a fit for this course. For sure. And that kind of goes with my next guy. And, it's to me, I understand that betting on a guy so young, so I guess you could even say unproven at this point because there hadn't been enough time for him to really prove himself. But man, this just fits so great for Ludwig to get this done. And he was great at the RBC. He was awesome at the Masters. He's ball struck his way to a T14 at the Valero when his short game and putting had totally left him. Like he just didn't have it at all, Steven. And we know the short game putting can come and go for guys that aren't just for about 90% of tour players, right? I mean, they're about 10% of dudes that are just consistently good at it every single week, but it'll come and go here and there. And, it just completely left him, but he's so good everywhere else. He still was able to grind out a T14 on that 8th outright at the Players. He gained 4 strokes off the tee, 5.7 on approach, 12.3 tee to green for this guy. He is an absolute phenom. He's going to win multiple times on tour. I think this course sets up really, really great for him. And fortunately, we have a field that does include Brooks and Rahm and Neiman and Bryson, and Scotty's back in the field, and Rory just won, to where now his price has drifted back out and where it begins with a 2. And like, so for me, you and I didn't want to play Ludwig when he was coming in at 9, 10, 11, 12. That didn't make a lot of sense. But with all these other players injected into the field this week, now we're starting with a 2 on the odds attached to his name for a guy that I think is going to, again, win not only a major, he's going to win a bunch of majors before it's all said and done. I really like Ludwig this week. And honestly, if you want to play him in a placement market because you're scared of, I get it. Like, honestly, guys, if you want to play all these dudes in like top 10s or top 5s or something like that because you're scared of Scotty, or if you want to play in the winner without market and just eliminate Scotty from all that, like, I'm not going to talk anybody off of that anymore. Like, I used to like want to say, I don't do that. If you think the guy's going to play well, he could win. But the thing is like, that's just not the case with how Scotty Scheffler's playing right now. Like, it's your dude can play awesome and still lose because Scotty Scheffler lives on this planet Earth. And so just kind of keep that as a caveat here for all these plays that I'm talking about anyway.
I got to admit, man, the last decision I had to make with the room I had left on my card after the futures I had put together the last couple of months, it came down to Rahm or Oberg. And it was a really hard decision because I mentioned I want to take shots on non-PGA Tour players because I've seen enough of them lose to Scotty this year. I think the one exception to that is Ludwig because we still have not seen his ceiling. We have still not seen the peak of his powers. And this course is just, it seems perfectly set up and tailor-made for him. So I just went with the experience and the major championship pedigree over the young up-and-comer. If this was a situation years back where I was betting another young up-and-comer whose name was Colin Morikawa, who I was able to get in the 30s and low 40s at that time in his career, then yeah, it'd be an easy pick for Oberg. But we are just not getting any type of discount with this guy who still hasn't won a PGA Tour event yet. You and I both agree he's going to win.
Whoa! He won the RSM on the fall swing. Don't cut that.
The freaking fall swing. Sorry,
he won a fall. Don't take away his win, bro. Don't take away his win.
All right, hasn't won a signature event. Hasn't won a major. All right, but I mean, he's going to, right?
Yeah.
And if he wins this week, it would be the least shocking thing in the world, and I'll probably kick myself for banking that Rahm's going to be able to do it. So. All right, last bet for me. I love betting these nationality markets during majors. It's so much fun. We're going top South African, Mr. Matt.
All right.
And we're going with Dean Burmester, another live player. You can get 2-1 or better on him. And again, it's back to the driving distance angle. The other main competitors in this market, Christian Bezuidenhout and Eric Van Rooyen, are not top 50 in this field in driving distance. Bezuidenhout's like near the bottom, actually. And the other two guys, Lawrence and Van Velzen, are not, everyday players you need to worry about. They're not in the same class as these guys. And Burmester quietly won a live event a few weeks back at a course that was longer than this one. He won Doral in Miami that was at 7,700 yards, and we're at 7,600 this week. So he's got plenty of distance off the tee. It seems the game is in decent form here, and I'm getting him in a prop market here for top South African against a bunch of other guys who either A, are just, not top tier golfers in the world, or B, among those top tier golfers in the world, do not have anywhere near the driving distance that's required, in my opinion, for this event.
My final guy, I'm going with Max Homa, and you can find Max in the mid-30s out there. This is a guy that just seems to trend in the right direction whenever we get to these long, tough courses, Steven. You take a look, Max on tough courses. Quail Hollow just last week, T8. Augusta National, T3. Bay Hill, T8. Torrey Pines, T13. At the Wells Fargo, gained everywhere except off the tee, which he only lost 0.1 strokes off the tee there. At the Masters, gained everywhere across the board. Like, there are certain dudes that just courses fit better, and like for whatever reason, Max really does well on these grinded out, long, tough, hard courses. I think it's because he is just such a well-rounded golfer. He's not super long, but he's long. He's not the greatest iron player, but he's really good. His putter can get hot. He's pretty good around the green. So there's all this stuff. Like, he's almost like a Xander light, except Max has won. Like, Max has won tournaments, whereas Xander like is good at everything, but just can't really get it done. Can't cross the finish line. I gravitate towards Max in these type of environments. He pops in the model for all the stuff that I was going after for him as well. And then the price attached to for, again, a proven winner on tour in that mid-30s, where if we're talking about guys that realistically have a chance to go out and compete with Scotty Scheffler, and I say compete because if you have a mid-30s ticket, you can figure out how to monetize that if he's head-to-head with Scotty on a Sunday. Guys that can really be there on a Sunday that have an odds number like that attached to him, that would be the guy for me in Max Homa. So again, I really like the number attached, and I really like the course fit for what he's able to do.
I'll give you a pro and a con on Max and why I didn't add him this week. The pro, we talked about it last week. Long courses, he models out really well. Like, for whatever reason, even though he's not one of the longer hitters off the tee, he just does great at long courses. That's the pro. The con for me is subjective, but I really was annoyed with how conservative he was at Augusta on the weekend, especially on the par fives that you have to take advantage of and not going for the green and two. I just felt like he found himself in position. and was just trying to get a high finish and not willing to take a risk and take some chances when he could have put himself in the mix for the tournament. So that's just one criticism. It doesn't mean it's going to apply or matter here, but I would have liked to have seen him be a little bit more aggressive when he found himself in contention.
If you guys were watching this video last week, you know what we're talking about. And if you're not, if you just found us for the PGA Championship, then welcome. We want you to go ahead. We want you to hit that subscribe button. We want you to like this video. And then what we're going to do is we want not just one golfer, because you're all going to write Scotty Scheffler. We want 2 golfers listed in the comments below. The lowest combined finishing position will win. So, for example, if you picked first and second place, your combined is 3. That's the best you can get, and you would, that would be the win. So, 1 golfer, 2 golfers, we will combine their finishing position. The lowest score is going to win. As you guys know, I did go to that little tournament in Augusta called the Masters. We're going to give away pretty awesome. These are like these awesome Masters. It's a 2-pack there. So you and a significant other, or you and a buddy, can go ahead and have that. Also going to give you a full-on, so right here, Masters logo, one of the official Masters logo balls to go along with that as well. So if we have a tie, we'll do some sort of we'll run it through one of the algorithm, like randomizer things or whatever, or something like that. But must be a subscriber to this channel. You must have liked this video, and then you can go in and list your 2 golfers below. 1 entry per person. Don't make us have to scroll through all the damn 8 entries of you or whatever. You're going to get disqualified. If that's there it is. There's the official rule, Steven. If you have more than 1 entry in the comment section, you're disqualified, because we don't have time to dig through. If we see your name more than once, you're out. You're out. That's how it's going to go.
Before we close, I also wanted on the record that I lost a bet, and that's why I'm wearing this hat, and I hate the New York Knicks. I just want that on the record.
There it is. That is on the record. Guys, full cards will be posted over in the Discord over on the Lines, upper right-hand corner. You can join absolutely free for that as well. Don't forget to join our little contest here. You got to be a subscriber. You got to like the video, and then leave us 2 names in the comment below. Lowest combined finishing position will be the winner of the contest. We'll ship you some Masters swag straight from Augusta, straight out of my pocketbook right there for you guys. We do appreciate you guys watching the video. For everything, for Steven, I am Matt. Good luck on all your PGA bets.